I couldn't help but notice that you've clicked on and are presently listening to an episode of the Paranormal Patio podcast. Thanks a lot. I appreciate your support. And if you want to continue to support us, the best thing you can do is share our episodes on social media. That's right. You can tag us in everything. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also find us on paranormalpatio.com, where you'll find articles, links to information from our past guests, as well as, every episode as it comes out. Also, head on over to Patreon. Patreon.com/beyondthepatio. You can get a monthly live stream, at least one. Sometimes we do more. Exclusive bonus content, early access to all of our episodes. And starting with season 3, I've got to move season 1 to the archives. So they'll be on Patreon as well, and you can listen to them there. Thanks again for your support. And hey, let's get into the episode. What kind of weird thing are we talking about today? In this episode, we are going to take a listen to a live stream that happened way back in October. I believe it was October 1st of last year, where I was joined by Scotty Rorek and Becky Castillo, who are both psychics, I guess is the word. Becky is also an energy healer. So later in the episode, there is a section where I'm actually receiving some energy work. And so I've cut out a lot of that. When you get to that point, you'll understand what I'm saying, because it's going to seem like it was only 2.5 minutes long or something like that. But I cut out a lot of that, but I wanted to include it to give you my impressions and for you to form your own impressions of it based on what my reaction is. And I promise that my reaction is genuine. But anyway, before we get to the Reiki stuff at the end, the energy work at the end, there's a lot of just general chatting about what it's like being a psychic and some stories, some visitors that arrived here at the studio while we were having our conversation. A lot of surprises for me. I remember this very fondly. And I also remember having a dream later that night after everyone had left that Scotty was trying to teach me something. And I seemed to understand what he was trying to teach me. But when I woke up, it was all gone. So who knows? Definitely an awesome time. And just one of these things like this, that you can expect to encounter if you join the Patreon over at patreon.com/beyondthepatio. And all of the live streams are kept up, so you can always go back and view the old live streams. Also, this episode is still sponsored by Dad Bod Pepper Company. You can pick up your own limited edition release of Spooky Garlic at dadbodpepper.com. Let's get into the episode. I'm really looking forward to this. I'm hoping to get some good feedback. I want to hear what you think about these topics that we're going to cover, and I think you'll enjoy it.
You're listening to the Paranormal Patio Podcast.
Internet connection is not real great. Hi, everybody. How are you? Welcome back to Beyond the Patio, Patreon for Paranormal Patio. I'm joined tonight with some guests. This is a big deal out here for a live stream. This is the biggest live stream in the studio with actual people, so that's great.
I thought he was talking about our weight.
Oh no, absolutely not. No, I mean
the biggest.
We're the heaviest for sure.
I'm usually the biggest and heaviest guest for the live stream, and it's consistent. If I'm one thing, I'm consistent.
Yeah. Somebody's got to be right.
I am shrinking slowly but surely, but
You getting old?
Keto.
Oh, keto.
No, you're not. And stop calling you Shirley. Right?
Anyway, I am joined tonight with Becky Castillo and Scotty Rorek, and we're going to talk a little bit about their experience with psychic stuff. That just seems so lame. I apologize. And we're going to get into some Reiki stuff too. So
we see dead people.
Yeah, there you go.
Did you guys both know I Reiki the lawn? I'm always really good at that one.
So
it's the time of the season.
I don't Reiki the lawn.
It's always time to Reiki the lawn. Before we got started, we were hanging out here in the studio chatting, and I asked Scotty, since you deal with spirits and you're always speaking with them, and you're always wearing the Ghostbuster regalia, what do spirits think about this whole Ghostbusters thing?
Well, I'm going to preface it by going back. Let's go back in our way back machine before most people that are even been alive. I'm going back into the 60s where when I was born and I saw spirits. It was not a great time to see spirit.
You are old.
I am old. I'm ancient.
Wise is what you meant to say.
Wise. That's
No,
what I meant.
old. When my body creaking the way it does, old. Anyway, so it was just not a great time. And you talk about bullying now. There was not a name for it back then. Just everybody did it.
Mm-hmm.
It was just really, really nasty time. Made fun of dramatically. It was tough.
Mm-hmm.
It was really tough. And so you went into the 60s and into the 70s. So I actually turned it off for a while because it was just so bad. I mean, it just being made fun of by everybody. So not a great time. But then again, then we zoom ahead a few years and I went to the University of Wisconsin at Oshkosh for school, and I was a theater major, and I had work study in there. So I had to work study in the theater in my own major. I was like, this is good. I'm doing both. So one day I was working on the show and I went up to the prop room. I walk up the stairs, middle of the day, sunny, bright, beautiful day. Open the door and there's a lady standing right in front of me. She wasn't quite standing because she had no feet. So it was a full body apparition right there. And I came out of the room screaming and yelling. And all the kids in class all came out and were like wondering what the hell was happening. And I said, well, I saw ghosts. And then I went, oh crap. I just came out again. But it was a lot better time now because it was the 80s and people started liking it at this time. I can't tell you how many dates I got because of it. I mean, the women all thought it was great. Here's a guy that talks to ghosts. It's Ouija board dates. And I said, okay, we're going to dinner, Ouija board for a while. Then we'll go out to the bars. And so my weekends were always packed every night. So that was the cool part. So that's why I'm still in it for the girls. But then a year or so later, Ghostbusters came up. It actually even had a scene that's very similar, when in the library.
Yeah, that's immediately what I thought of whenever you were...
Right.
Yeah.
And that's when I looked at it, I was like, who heard my story? Because I was like, okay, did Dan hear my story and put it in the movie? I mean, who heard me? And I'll tell you another one later that I think somebody heard me too. I'll do it now. In the movie Rocket Man, he talks about he's stuck on the planet, he's walking, and he goes, when I was younger, I used to see these people. And see, now when I was younger, I would always call the ghosts, especially in the 60s, I would call them bakers, because ghosts to me and spirits look more opaque, so they look white. And who were all white except for bakers? And so I would call them bakers. And so in the movie Rocket Man, he's walking on the planet talking about him when he was younger, seeing these people called bakers. I was like, okay, that's twice now in my life people have taken my stories and used them in their movies. I want royalties.
Yes. I love that.
But so then Ghostbusters came out, and then even more girls I got more dates.
Oh, yeah.
And so this was the first time. So you look at it, I mean, from 60s to the 80s, 84 when Ghostbusters came out, this is the first time in 20 some years I started feeling normal. And that's why I'm out now with it, because I'm normal with it. I'm good with it. And Spirit knows it. It's not anything about me busting them, putting, that type of thing. That's not what it's about. It's about us feeling normal. And that's why I do it. That's why I wear it, because now that I have my ectomobile, now I wear the clothes, I go everywhere, and people always want to tell me their ghost stories. So that's the cool thing about it is people are wanting to hear it, wanting to be out with it. Mm-hmm. And it makes them feel normal because they saw the movie and they enjoyed it. It wasn't the scary crap that movies are.
Yeah.
This was a really a good time to be, and they're guys. There were 4 guys dealing with ghosts, not just all ladies. So it was, that's why I still wear ghosts, and that's why I still wear Ghostbusters. I've been to events and conventions with Dan Aykroyd and Ernie Hudson, and I've thanked them both for it. I've invited Ernie on a ghost hunt. He said, no way in hell. He says, I
love Ernie. He is so
he's
so
so
sweet.
funny. Isn't he great? He's so funny. He goes, I just played in the movie, dude. He says, and then we were at the event, and all these people came up and started trying to tell him ghost stories. And he stopped them. He goes, guys, he's the real Ghostbuster. I just played one.
That probably felt like a big moment.
Oh my God, I started crying. I was just like, oh my God, it was so sad.
Yeah.
It was so incredible for him to say that about me. It was really nice. But that's what Ghostbusters mean. And now we've taken it to a step because Becky and I also run a group called Psychics Unite.
Mm-hmm.
And we have one in Mattoon. We have the corporate ones out of Madison, Wisconsin, where I am. And then we have them all over the country. But it's a group that's out there just for the exact same reasons, not allowing anyone to feel uncomfortable anymore. Now they have a place to turn to, which I didn't in the 60s.
Yeah.
Because we never want anyone. So my wife Terry is the one who started the organization. And she saw me and she met hundreds of other people that had nowhere to turn to. And when you turn, don't have that buddy. You don't have something to turn to. And in the 60s, we didn't have the internet.
Sure.
We didn't, we barely had dial phones. We had to call Riverside 722.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we had exchanges back then. So there's nothing really out back in those days until Ghostbusters came out or Leonard Nimoy, those type of shows.
Yeah.
So that's why Psychics Unite is an extension of what we do with our groups. It's a place for not just people with abilities, but anyone questioning, anyone having needs help, anyone that needs guidance, come to our meetings.
Yeah.
They have them right there in Mattoon, not too far from here. Oh, a little bit farther than I thought.
It's a little bit, yeah. Sometimes we rotate between Mattoon and Charleston.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do them one line. It just kind of depends.
But it's an amazing thing. We have some amazing teachers like Becky and herself who run the groups for us all over the country. And it's so wonderful. The other cool thing is you asked me one question and I can finish the whole podcast.
I know.
It's just one question.
That's why you brought him.
I told you.
That's why she
That's
brought
why
him.
I brought him.
That's why she brought him.
And I'm not even done with it.
If I don't even know what to say, I just let him go.
Stand back, Scotty's going.
Yep.
Well, we heard a little bit about his backstory. Can you tell us a little bit about yours? Because I'm sure equally fascinating.
Well, yeah, very, very similar. Just a few years after the 60s. Not many. I was 74.
Yeah.
Well, it really was. I probably saw ghosts in 74, but I don't remember that.
Right.
I was about 5 the first time I really remember having an experience. And for me, it was my grandpa came to me. At the time, I didn't know he was in the hospital. They didn't tell me anything.
Sure.
He came to me and told me that he was sick, that something was wrong with his heart. He told me his heart was broken and that he was going to have to go, but told me that he would always be there. If I ever wanted to talk to him, just call his name and, told me all about it and then tucked me back into bed and I went back to sleep. So I got up the next morning and my mom and dad were sitting there and they're like, we need to talk to you about something. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, Grandpa. And I'm like, oh, I know. Grandpa's gone, but his heart was broken, but he's okay. He's going someplace better. And anytime I want to see him, he can come back. He'll come back and talk to me. And they're just like, oh, okay. Yeah, Grandpa died. And they just kind of like walked away. They're like, okay. They didn't know what to say. And, and it was never something I was never told not to do it or
Sure.
that it wasn't true or it didn't exist. It was just kind of not acknowledged.
Yeah.
Like it was just something I did. So I saw ghosts and spirits until I was about 11. I went to Sunday school with a friend of mine and it was, hopefully I don't cry. It was really, I went to Sunday school because that's what you do when you're a kid.
Sure.
We never had religion at home. I mean, I always say Jesus was a picture on my grandma's wall. I mean, I knew who he was because the picture hung there, but I knew nothing else. Went to Sunday school with her because they had pizza and games.
Right.
I was like, cool, I'll go. Who doesn't love pizza and games?
And arts and crafts.
Right. So they started talking
Pizza
about,
Hut?
yeah, probably. Probably. I don't remember that for sure.
Worth it for the pizza.
Or Villa, probably, because, we liked Villa. They started talking, telling stories about the Holy Ghost and, the Holy Spirits. And I'm like, oh, finally, somebody gets it. This is what I see. Said something, big mistake, said something to the youth pastor. And he was like, well, what do you mean? And I was telling him, and he took me down to the main pastor's office. And they immediately started telling me how I was possessed by the devil.
Oh, of course.
That I had the devil in me. And, all I knew was there was a pool of water over there. That's all I knew. And they're like, we're going to have to put you in there. We're going to have to baptize you. And we're going to have to do this. And in my mind, all I'm seeing is you're going to dunk me in this pool and try to drown me.
Yeah.
Because I'm possessed by the devil.
Yeah.
I got up. I ran screaming, of course, like any normal kid would.
Sure.
For the longest time, I was PTSD. I would not go into a church.
I imagine.
My
That's
mom
awesome.
would go to rumming sales at a church and I would just like sit in the car and bawl and be like, I can't go. So that was just kind of one of those things, like, I blocked it out for a while. I was just like, you can't see this. You can't talk about this. You can't just, so if something come up, I'd be like, go. No, don't see you. Until I was about 16, I was at my grandma's house and I was laying on the couch, and every time I tried to close my eyes, I'd hear an ambulance, she was on a busy road. So an ambulance going by was not uncommon, but I kept hearing this ambulance, and it was like right there, like really loud. And so I got up and I looked out the window, and my grandma's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, where's that ambulance at? I'm like, it's freaking annoying. I can't sleep. And she's like, what ambulance? I don't hear anything. I'm like, how can you not hear that? I know you're old, but you cannot hear that. So I tried it again. And this time when I started to doze off, the ambulance came back, and it said my future mother-in-law, who is my ex-mother-in-law, it said her name. And I was like, what the heck? So I got up again. I called my boyfriend at the time, and I'm like, would you do me a favor? Just go check on your mother. And he's like, she's sleeping. I'm like, just do it, because it's never going to stop if you don't do it. So he went to check on her. As soon as he walked in the room, she took a big gasp and then stopped breathing.
Oh, wow.
And so he's like, she's not breathing. And I'm like, okay, call it. And I told him how to do CPR. Then I'm like, now call 911. I got in the car, got down there. She had a ruptured gallbladder that was infected, septic, and they got her to the hospital, and she ended up being okay.
Oh, wow.
And so from that point on, I was like, okay, you need to acknowledge this. You need to do it.
Yeah.
And so I just started researching it again and just went with it. I found out later, when I was like 30, that my great grandma seen ghosts all the time. And
wow.
If you would have told me this when I was like young, when she was still alive, this would have been life changing.
Oh, sure.
But, so
yeah,
that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Yeah. So when did you meet up with this guy?
Oh gosh, about 13 years ago, probably. Yep. Once I started exploring all of this, my venturing into actual paranormal investigating happened, oddly enough, from playing World of Warcraft.
Okay.
I had a friend in the game whose name was Spectre. We're still very good friends. I asked him about his name, and he told me he was a ghost hunter in Chicago. And I'm like, oh, cool. And so I teamed up with him and went up there and did a couple investigations and stuff, and decided, hey, this is fun. I want to do this. So I created my own team down here, and then we ended up starting a convention that was called Central Illinois Paracon. And our second time doing the convention, we somehow got hooked up with Scotty.
Yep.
And he came down for the convention, and he's just been my mentor ever since.
We've been best friends since. So that's great.
Yeah. He pushes me to the extremes and to my uncomfortable zones.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, he does.
Growth isn't supposed to be comfortable, right?
Exactly. Right. I did my first gallery reading with him when he insisted I was going on stage with him, and I was just like, this is not good.
And she did so wonderful. She was spectacular. You were great.
It was much better than
You were totally awesome.
But I literally, just like I said before we started, I went on there thinking, okay, if I can't think of something to say, he's got me.
Which I do, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, so It won't matter if I freeze and I can't think of something, because Scotty or one of the others will pick up, and I'll just smile and nod.
Yeah, we do gallery readings, like most people are used to seeing, like Teresa Caputo or John Edward when they come out there and do it. I do a gallery a little bit different. Tomorrow at my gallery in Champaign, I do by myself, but the one that I do for the show we did is I bring up to 4 to 6 mediums on stage with me.
Oh, wow.
And what we do is one medium doesn't go to one person, and then the next one goes up. All of us go to one person.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So one person will pick that person because they'll receive some message. We'll go there. Then the other people will all tap in. Mm-hmm. So everybody can go to them. The messages are stronger because, and then the audience also gets to see how different mediums work. Because we all don't work the same.
Sure.
One hears, one sees, one smells, one feels. So it's, and some will do it
and
all.
You may see a completely different person. Like I may see your grandma, and he may see somebody completely different that I don't see.
Yeah. Right.
And we can just help each other and feed off of each other.
It's like everybody has their television to a different channel, but all the programs are for the same person.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So that way, the show is better, and there's no pauses because there's so many of us going. Sure. And then when one's done, then they'll look in the audience and go to the next person get ready to go. And then when we're done with that set of people, then we move on to the next one right away. So
Yeah. That's really cool. I definitely have to go to one of these.
Yeah. They're a lot. They're a lot of fun. I've done the one, and I've done a couple smaller ones with Rainbow. We did a couple, but that one was very. And like I said earlier, too, anytime we do an event, even if it's a small event, something positive always comes out of it. And same thing with that. I instantly was drawn to one person, and I talked to her through some stuff, and then we became best friends. I've been best friends with her since that event for a couple of years. So, it was like...
It's meant to be.
Exactly, yeah. So...
It's like the paths are always going through the woods and you don't know which way they're going to turn, but they're always going to take you where you're supposed to be. They're always going to go where you're supposed to. Yep.
Yeah, see, that's the why scene of this whole thing, because too often I see, and we all both see, other mediums and other people that think about it as a competition. And it definitely is not even close.
No.
Sure.
There's so many spirits for everybody to talk to, but that's not really what it is. Each individual one of us, we have different backgrounds in life too. I am an alcoholic. I've been sober for 34 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But because I'm sober for 34, I can't tell you how many people come that are alcoholics coming for my readings. It's because Spirit sends them to me because I have that background.
Yeah.
And all the other crap that I've been through and all the other crap Becky's been through. But that's why we go through these things, is because we're then there to help each other. So when I'm at a show tomorrow, I never worry about if I'm going to get people, because I always do, because they're there for the right reasons.
Right.
And they go to other people for their reasons. And so I never question why somebody comes to me, because it's not me giving it to anyway. Spirits put it.
Right.
Spirits making them come to me.
I am definitely not one of the competitive people. I know it's not uncommon for me if somebody comes up to me and says, I want to connect with this person because of this, this, and this. And if I know that I may not be able to do it, I'll be the first one to say, go to Scotty. Or, the second Saturday of the month, we do a reading thing in Danville. And there's been a couple times that I've sent them to the other girl doing readings, because I'm like, you're going to get that exact information from her. I can't pull that one person because of that reason. If they may come to me, they may not.
Sure.
But I'm not going to guarantee it.
I was sitting at a show in Oshkosh, and the lady and I were reading right next to each other. At the same time in our reading, we turned to each other. We both looked at each other. Flip-flop. Yeah. And so we did, and the readings went perfect. Yeah. But it was like we looked at each other. We knew right away they're sitting in the wrong chairs.
Yeah.
As soon as they moved, it was like, okay.
Yeah. And I've had that happen before where I just can't get anything from that person. And it's like, I don't know what this block is, but I can't read you at all.
Sure.
So I'm going to give you your money back and tell you to keep it and tell you to go to Scotty or go to someone else, because I'm not going to do you any good.
It's a really good point, because there are a lot of people who claim to have this ability that will take advantage of people. Somebody with less pure intentions wouldn't do that.
Correct.
They would just take the money and make something up because,
and
we don't make anything up.
No, and that was my biggest reason. And that's why I used to tell these guys all the time, because him and another friend, mentor of mine, Rainbow, would always tell me, you got to do readings. You got to do readings. And I'm like, I can't BS people. So if they come to me and I have nothing to tell them, I'm going to say, I have nothing to tell you.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have that ability to use car salesman somebody.
Sure.
And make what I have to say look like a rainbow when it's really a pile of poo.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing I always tell people before they sit down with me is whatever comes through is coming through. If you want a rainbow reading, don't come to me.
Yeah.
Because I give it just like it is.
Sure.
The only thing I don't give is death, but everything else I will give.
Oh, I hate people that give death.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Yeah.
But
I don't know how many readings I do just to clarify for somebody because they're scared to death.
Right.
Because they met with somebody and they said somebody in a position of power in a uniform in your family is going to die. And then they come to me. This actually happened recently.
Yeah.
And they have a person in their family, a younger guy who's a cop. So they were all like 5 of the family members contacted me and they're like, is he going to die? Is he going to die? I'm like, probably, yeah, eventually we're all going to die. But just because this lady that you went to in Branson, Missouri on the strip of the, thing told you that somebody's going to die. No, it's like, why would you tell somebody that? You can't.
I had a lady come for a reading this week, and her dad just passed recently. So she went to somebody, and that person couldn't bring it through, which, happens. That person told her that she has no spiritual gifts. And she's in our Psychic Unite group in Madison. And she does have gifts, and I've told her how many times. And I said, who'd you listen to? I said, you don't have to give me the name, but don't listen to her again.
Right.
I said, that's enough. I mean, because...
So you can never tell somebody they don't have, because everybody has some.
Everybody has some.
Whether or not they're willing to use it or access it or whatever, that's one thing, but accept it.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing.
Sure.
I accepted it. I just didn't use it.
Even though now it's way more of an acceptable thing, there's still a lot of resistance from society as a whole.
There is,
it's mostly religion.
Sure.
Mostly, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And it's the armchair religious people too.
Yeah, and it's weird because everything that we do proves the fact that they go on to heaven. So I don't know why religion doesn't believe in it.
Right.
You can go down, you can boil down what Christianity is today because it was based off of Paul. Paul wrote all the letters and stuff for most Christianity, and Paul never walked with Jesus. So how does Paul know what Jesus wanted?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, because Paul got it through messages. And what's messages? Mediumship. Oh, Paul is a medium. So your Christian faith was formed by mediums.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you very much.
Even not just mediumship, but, everybody always says connecting to your ancestors, because I'm getting ready to do this class on connecting to your ancestors. Everybody's like, you shouldn't do that. That's not possible. Blah, 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 blah. Well, you know what? The reason we have genealogy and the state we have it now is from a religion. The reason that we have it is because the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, one of their beliefs is they can go back and pray and do whatever they do. It's praying and some other things, I think, but they can redeem the souls of their ancestors and send them to heaven. So they started this genealogy research, and they've got the huge mountain, literally mountain.
Sure.
They store it in a mountain.
Yeah.
But, that's why we have it. So they're connecting to their ancestors. They're doing the same thing we're doing. They're reaching out to those people from the past. They're, communicating with them to try to get them into heaven.
Sure.
We're doing the same thing.
Sure.
Just in different ways.
But they're already in heaven. But never mind. We won't get into those details.
True. But
because I know where you're going.
Yeah, because I don't believe in hell.
Yeah.
Sure.
There's not a place.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And even in the spiritual thing, I've been doing these readings for all these years, and not once in a reading have I ever heard from any spirit that told me about hell.
Why would a God, regardless of who you think your God is, why would they willingly want to send somebody there?
If you want to do it for your kids,
suffering. That's what you're here for on earth.
Right.
To me, this is hell.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, especially the last couple of years.
Right? You can't be who you are freely without judgment, without, you can't do certain things you want to do because there's constraints.
Until you become of unconditional love, and that's what heaven is. And that's where I've been in all my understanding and all my beliefs and what I do. I always, there's not once, if you look on any of my Facebook posts, you'll never see me like anything. I love it because everything's love. That's what it needs to be.
That's a really cool thing. Yeah.
And that's what we have to realize, because I know if my kids ever did anything against society, I guess, I would not want them to go to jail. I would not want them to die. I would not, you know what I mean? Why would a God want that? Why does God need that?
Yeah.
If God is everything, why does God need that? Well, he doesn't. But it's the way religion makes you fear so that you follow the rules.
Yeah.
And you send them money on Sundays.
Yes. But we can leave that one at that, I think.
Yeah.
Stop there.
I'm in complete agreement, but,
You'll go down that road, but I mean, that's just, but that's where it is. I mean, so that's, because I get so many people that come after me about this stuff that you never find my wife, Terry.
Well, she can post some interesting things.
She understands everyone's Bible, Torah, everything. She knows all the religions, all the points. And if you state something towards her, if you don't know what you're talking about,
I love seeing her post though. She'll post something and it's like, ooh, that's going to be a shit show.
Yeah. I love it.
But she gets you to think. That's what it's about.
Right? Like, I'll put following on it or put the popcorn emoji. Yeah. Just to keep an eye on it, because I'm like, I gotta see what everybody says about this. Because this is gonna be good.
I'm trying to think of a good question to ask someone with this ability that most people probably think of. And I'm sure you've heard every question in the book. But you've already kind of alluded to how the spirits present themselves to you. With, the white opaqueness, how do you actually receive the messages that you get? Do you hear them audibly in your mind? Or is it just like you have the thought and it's there?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I kind of figured that it would be some combination of things.
Well, it is. And that's the biggest thing is everybody receives differently. Some people smell, some people do tarot, but the messages come through the cards. It's not the card that's saying it. It's the person that's coming for there anyway. Mm-hmm. And I would just call it tarot training wheels for mediumship. That's basically what it is, because you're hearing from spirit anyway. And that's what you're getting the card for. It's just helping you with validation in front of you.
Sure.
I use oracle cards as not for me, for the other person. That's why I always tell them. I said, you look at that artwork, you look at that, and if you see a message in that, that's your message.
Right.
What I'm going to tell you is what I'm picking up.
Right. Exactly.
And it may not match anything with these cards. These cards are for you.
Right. Yep,
because a lot of times the person on the other side of the table needs something visual.
Yeah, yeah.
They can't just take it as I'm lecturing, I'm counseling. Yeah. So I just let them see the cards and be like.
Things have changed though. So when I first started, yes, I see spirit, but all my seeing is less than it used to be. It's way more hearing now. I hear with my ears or I hear with my mind. Mm-hmm. Because ghosts don't. Okay, let me explain ghosts and spirits. A ghost is someone who has died that hasn't gone to heaven, so stuck here on earth. A spirit is someone who's died and gone to heaven. So that's the difference. So when I talk about ghosts, they're completely different than when I talk to spirit. But most of the time when I do readings, it's of spirit. As of lately, I've been into a channeling mode where spirit just comes through my words and I don't say anything. It's a lot quicker reading. So, people say, I'm going to do a reading for an hour. I said, well, we don't need an hour. I said, I'll be done in a half hour. Mm-hmm. With everything you ever asked, I'll be done in a half hour.
And more.
It's right. And more. But it just goes through that fast because a lot of people go, that sounds just like my dad. The other day, I had a skeptic. I had two skeptics come from readings. And they sat down and he goes, I'm really looking forward to this because, I want to know stuff you've never said to anyone in your life. So, okay. Because stuff that he never told anyone's not on Facebook, anything like that.
Sure.
I don't even on him. He's not even on my Facebook page. Don't even know who he is. He just walks up. I said, can I speak like your dad? And he goes, what? I said, can I speak like your dad? And I went off with a few F words and this and that. And I said them in the same order his dad always said. And he goes, okay, you're real. Wow. He says, nobody would have said those words in that order just like my dad.
Yeah.
I said, well, it wasn't me either.
Right.
It was your dad.
Yeah.
So your dad's here, but he wanted to make sure, because I don't swear normally in readings. So, but if it comes across, it's because of some reason that they want that validation.
Sure. That genuine aspect of it, I think, probably is a very strong validation.
Yeah, for the person that's sitting with me, yes.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Do you feel like the difference between ghosts and spirits that maybe you see the ghosts more often because they're kind of closer to... No.
Other way around.
Other way around, really.
I see spirits more. Everybody's got some spirit that's walking with them. Everybody. My dad's right there, by the way. Steve, my spirit guide's right there. I mean, we all have spirits that are with us every day of our lives.
Yeah.
Even you.
Have you guys been picking up on stuff already?
Of course. But anyway, but as time, everybody. So when I go to Walmart and it's the shopping season and it's busy,
that's hell.
And then there's 3 or 4 more people with you, trying to block the other people's spirits and just having a good time. But that's what it is. I see spirits around everybody. Now ghosts I only see when I go into situations where people call me in.
Mm-hmm.
Really? That's
because if I'm going to sit and do a reading, I don't get a ghost. Very, very rarely do I get a ghost. 99.9% of the time it's a spirit.
Same with you?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say I don't see as many ghosts, at least, especially not during readings. Readings, no.
When we went to the hotel, we see ghosts.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll see them at locations.
Yeah.
Like if I'm, or like I'm driving through, like I told him earlier, there's a house in Westfield. When I go over to my friend's house, every time I go past that house, I mean, I just see them. They're there. And I'm like, I want to go in that house so bad. I'm like, would it be rude for me to show up at the door and be like, can I come in and talk to your ghost?
Put on one of the, like the coveralls with like a bug thing or.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I saw a bug. But
there's other ones. The ones with a logo on it. Just walk up to their house.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters, what do you want?
What do you want?
Yeah.
You came here. Wait a minute.
Oh, wait. Never mind. Other way around.
Yeah. But yeah, most of the time it's spirit. And a lot of times the spirit, I don't visually see them. I will see energy, which is what helps me with the Reiki. So for me, the energy looks like, best way for me to describe it is when you're driving on the road and it's hot and you see like the energy coming up from the road. Yeah. That's what it looks like for me. So when I'm doing Reiki, that's what I'm seeing flow through your body. When I see a spirit, I can kind of see that disturbance there, but I don't see that person. But I can tell you exactly what they look like.
That's always good because you can put your meters into that energy and see the energy change.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I know what they look like, but I don't actually see them. So it's just kind of like something in my brain is like
constantly generating memory.
Yeah. It's like, this is a guy that he has dark hair. He's wearing a hat. He has, and I can describe him, but I don't actually see him.
One time in my life, probably 15 years ago or so, I saw exactly what you just described. So when you were describing it, I could visualize.
Yep.
It just happened randomly. I was at work, just going through the day, and somebody walked by, and I was like checking my glasses because there's this sheen.
Yeah.
And another person and so on. For about 15 minutes, I was seeing that, and I thought maybe I was going to have a stroke or something.
Yeah. Sometimes you wonder. Yeah.
Now you can change this into a studio and start getting readings.
There you go.
Nothing's off the table, folks. Nothing at all. Everybody from Patreon can just come on over. And,
right.
Yeah, we'll have a little gallery.
We could put a few people in here for a gallery.
Yeah, sure. We could.
I had a tabletop RPG going a couple weeks ago. You guys just saw we had 5 of us out here, so we can make it happen.
Yeah,
sure.
We have plenty of room in here.
Little rearranging. I've already rearranged a little bit. So people who've watched the last couple of live streams have seen the differences here. We've got the table over here, which is normally over there. But we had to accommodate. And I'm glad we did, because this is, so far, I'm having a lot of fun. I'm really into this. I do want to change gears a little bit and talk about the Reiki stuff. Like, how did you come into that?
I honestly don't know exactly what made me decide to do it. I think a lot of it was from the conventions and stuff I was doing. Who's out there?
People.
Real people or live people? No.
Dead people.
Okay.
So from...
You guys
what
come
was I
in.
saying? Oh.
You don't remember how you got your energy.
That's it. Yes. So I met a lot of different healers and stuff through the conventions, and I'm like, this sounds, kind of cool. And so I spent a weekend at Rhodes Hotel in Indiana. I love that place. If you ever want to go investigate somewhere, that's a great place to go.
I actually have interviewed someone for the show last year that had been there.
Yeah. Rhodes Hotel is awesome. And
we know the owners.
Oh, that's right. Mike owns it now. Yeah. I knew the old owners too.
Yeah, we did too. Yeah.
But I went to a healing fair that weekend, and I studied with several different people were there, but I mainly studied with the Mountain Gypsies, which, of course, Kathy passed away last summer. Last summer? Or her and her daughter. And I studied with them, and I'm like, I really like this. And so I just kept exploring it, and, just ended up going to get my Reiki master and Reiki master teacher, and then went and studied La Hochi, which is a different kind of energy healing. And now I just kind of put it all together and do my own thing.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
I do some Reiki things, and just whatever spirit calls me to do.
Sure.
So if I don't do traditional Reiki where my hand positions are always perfect. La Hochi has different hand positions. A lot of times I don't do either one of those. I mean, there's times I surprise myself. One day I was standing at the end of the bed doing this, and I'm like, what am I doing? And I'm like, I don't know, just keep doing it. It's working.
It's kind of like a potter's wheel, probably, where you can be taught several different styles to do something.
Yeah, you're just manipulating, just like the potter wheel. You're manipulating the energy or the clay, and you're shaping it to do, to go where it needs to go. and get the flow back in order. And just like setting a broken bone, sometimes you have to do it one way, sometimes you have to do another. But the main goal is to get it connected again and get it flowing.
Yeah. I apologize. I have this click where I love to make analogies. So I've made a few of them already.
No, and it works.
Sounds great.
As long as
they've
they
all
work.
matched.
Yeah.
They've all worked. So
Yeah.
It's just the way that my brain works, I guess.
No, and it helps to explain it to people. So.
Sure. Yeah. I feel like I explain things I probably don't need to a lot just because I have a need to make an analogy, like this overwhelming desire. I have to say this. It's clever and I like it.
We have to get on that somehow.
That ego, man, he's hanging in.
I know somebody else like that.
Oh,
what?
Yeah.
Me?
he has been nothing but pleasant. I don't know why.
He's always got to make
so
some kind of
judgmental.
comment.
I know. Some rude ass comment.
Yeah, it's just some kind of comment in there, yeah.
That's terrific. And you were looking out the window there. You mind sharing a
So
little bit of what
I definitely, this goes back one generation though. I mean, so she keeps showing me that you guys didn't see each other much. This is your great grandma on your mom's side,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
Did you see her at all? Because if not, it was just like
When I was very young. Yeah. Yeah.
She keeps showing me this a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
She's been here.
That's
She's been here all
interesting.
the time because to her biggest thing was family.
I can see that.
And so she's still here for the family. She enjoys this because now she can tell you guys that she's around because she likes the kids.
Awesome.
So that's why she wants you to know she's here, is because she watches over them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she spends a lot of time with them. So
Wow. And she was out there poking
yeah, she
around?
was like out there walking. I said, "Come on in." She came right in.
Yeah, I was very young when she passed away, and I remember when she was in the hospital, I was absolutely terrified. Because I had never had any hospital experiences.
Right.
4 or 5 years old,
Right.
and she had like an oxygen mask on and everything. I was just absolutely terrified. It was kind of like ET,
Yeah.
And I always felt really bad about that. It's always something that's kind of hung in the back.
Right.
Like I should have, gave her one more hug or whatever.
She's
I'm
like,
sure.
"No, everything's fine."
I'm sure she's okay.
Yeah. She is. That's why she's
Honestly, I
still
think
here
if
with you.
anything, she probably would have rather you not seen her that way.
Of course.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because for her it was worse that she scared you.
No, yeah.
That she would have probably rather you just not have seen her so that
Yeah.
you would remember
See-
her in a good way.
Right. A lot of spirits, people always worry about that. I wasn't there when he passed. Well, because he passed because you weren't there.
Right.
That's normally the case.
Yeah.
It's very rare. Even my dad passed before
Mhm.
I got there. So we were driving. We lived in Peoria, and my dad lived in Franksville, Wisconsin. And on my way there, my brother says, "Yeah, Dad's in bad shape. He's not going to make it." So I left work, and I got the kids and threw them all in the car. And we were driving, and we're going all the back roads like we did coming here. And we're coming from Peoria up, to go up to Wisconsin. All of a sudden, on the back road, bright sunny day, all of a sudden a cloud came and it rained just a little bit over our thing. I put on the brakes and I said, "Yep, Dad died." So no more racing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I said, "I'll get there when I get there now."
It's really interesting. For a little while with our family, it seemed like anytime someone would be close to that point, they're winding down. It's, we all kind of assume that the time is coming. Someone would be going to or coming from the hospital and there would be a car accident. And no one was ever seriously hurt, but they'd be without a vehicle, And, well, now it's more of a struggle to get back and forth and, maybe they're not going to be there, Say, I was in one of the car accidents. I was 18, I think. And that was the last one, I think, actually.
I mean, I think there'd be much better ways for spirit to not
I'm not
direct
blaming,
you away from the
I'm not
hospital.
blaming anyone. It was just a weird coincidence of things that would happen.
I'm like, man, you could at least just give me a flat tire.
Yeah.
Don't make me have a rag.
Yeah, exactly.
So anytime someone was sick, I always waited to see if someone was going to be in a car accident, to see if they were going to pass, or if they were going to pull through, which is awful. But
Not really, because, see, that's actually a great segue into another thing is if you really believe in spirit and you really believe in the other side, why would you be sad for that person to pass?
sure.
I'm
Right.
not. I understand what kind of pain they were in.
Mm-hmm.
It's the ones that die quickly because of something else, those I understand, but like,
Right.
grandparents and stuff. And dads and that type of stuff that are really sick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm happy that they're gone. You know I could talk to them. I mean, I got a little bit of advantage of that.
Sure.
But I know that they're not in pain anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I have severe arthritis, and I had an out-of-body experience once, and I wouldn't let the shaman put me back in my body. I was fighting it because this was the only time in my life I felt no pain.
Yeah.
And for me to go to heaven and not have any pain, I'll go today. You know, I mean, it's just that bad.
Yeah.
So I'm happy. And like when I put on Facebook, you know, it was a few years ago already, my grandma passed, and my dad and my grandpa came to me during my radio show, and we had to go to commercial breaks so that I could talk to them. They go, "We got something important to tell you." I said, "Come back after the show." So they sat in the studio just like this. God damn it. So I went to break. I said, "Out of the studio. I'll talk to you when we get done." And they told me Grandma was going to die on Thursday. Well, Grandma died on Thursday, but I knew that when she died, they were there. And then at the funeral, I saw everyone that passed before: Dad, Grandpa, her sister, her brother-in-law. I mean, everybody, her daughter, her grandkids, everybody. And I saw them all leave together out of the funeral home. And I was so happy. I was crying because I was just so happy that she was with everybody she loved. And people made fun of me for that. And I was, why the sorry, I'm going to say it.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
But I said, why the do you say that about someone that's passed and they're with their loved ones? You don't want to be with your loved ones when you pass?
Right.
Are you that crazy?
Yeah.
It's amazing that she got to be with them. It's amazing she got to be with her husband and her son. I mean, she used to call me Henry because I look very similar to all the boys on our side of the family. And her dementia was coming and she would call me Henry. But now she's really with the Henrys. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, it doesn't make sense.
And she knows them.
Right.
Yeah.
And she walked with them and she was hugging and the love was there. The whole family walked out together. I was like, I hope that they're all there for me. I know they will be, but you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most beautiful things for me. I do a lot of work with living, transitioning to death. And that's one of the most beautiful things for me is when they start telling you a few days before that people are there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, my grandma was like that. She was at a hospital because she was on a ventilator, but then she was on BiPAP for a long time. And she just wanted to die at home. That's all she ever wanted. We had taken care of several family members at home. She had taken care of them and they died at home. She just wanted to be at home. And they told her she had to stay off the BiPAP machine for 8 hours a night for 3 nights. You could tell it wasn't her. You could tell that was not her in her body. And all she kept saying was, you better make sure that house is cleaned up. Grandma's coming. You know, Uncle Leonard's coming. You better make sure that damn house is cleaned up.
Yeah.
She stayed off BiPAP for 10 hours straight for 3 nights. And they brought her home by ambulance. And she died 13 hours later. But she told us as soon as she got home that Grandma was asleep in the other room. Leonard would be there soon. And when he got there, they were going to leave. And it was 13 hours later.
Wow.
She passed away and she was gone. And it's like, okay, you know, we knew that they were here and they were there to get her. And I firmly believe that something else took over for her at the hospital to get her to the place where she could come home.
For sure.
And and that was all I wanted. And I felt so bad for that because I'm the one that called the ambulance for her. And then as soon as they intubated her, like at the hospital, I'm like, oh God, you know, it's my fault she's here. If I would have just left her alone and not called the ambulance, she would have died at home.
Yeah.
The way she wanted. And
well, she did anyways.
She did. She did. So no, I don't.
Never,
I have no regrets now.
You're right. We should never regret ourselves.
No, we got her home, but
because when we're in that state too, we know, Spirit knows they're going to be there helping us to transition the way we're supposed to.
Well, this woman was one of those that she would start telling you at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to have to go to the hospital today. And you're like, well, then let's go. No, not yet. I don't want to go yet. Then she'd call you at 9 o'clock at night. Okay, I'm ready to go to the hospital now. It's like, I got to work tomorrow. So we'd be out the hospital till 4 o'clock in the morning till she got a room. So when I looked at her, I'm like, she just kept saying, I need help. And I'm like, what do you need help with? Are you in pain? No. You have trouble breathing? No. I'm like, then what do you need help with? And I'm like, do you want me to call an ambulance? She's like, you haven't yet? And I was like, well, I am now. Because clearly you want me to. And I was like, I'm going to call right this second now.
Yeah.
You're actually saying call.
The other cool thing about this is when we talk to spirits, some people want us to talk to them like immediately after they pass. Mm-hmm. Some spirits can, some spirits can't. So I was in, not Cleveland, Toledo. I was doing a show in Toledo. And I'm sitting there giving a reading to this girl. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning, one of my first readings. And I kept telling her, I said, Grandpa's here. And Grandpa's telling me this, this, and this, and this. And she goes, after I got through all the messages, she goes, Grandpa didn't die. I said, honey, he's saying it's Grandpa. There's no doubt in my mind. I said, I'll apologize. And if it's not Grandpa, then I'll give you your money back. But this is Grandpa. I said, here, give me a card and, call me back. An hour later, she calls me back. She says, Grandpa died before our reading this morning.
Hmm.
And she goes, everything you said was totally him. I said, well, I'm sorry that he passed, but know that he's with you already. Yeah. And I just had a reading this week, another lady who lost her dad. And it was only since the beginning of September, but he's already able to talk. He's doing a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. But he was prepared ahead of time.
Right. And I think that if somebody's spiritual and somebody believes in this stuff and they've prepared their brain and their soul, not only their brain, but their soul, they are able to communicate sooner.
Yeah, we had a best friend that passed. Mm-hmm. Both of us and a lot of people. Yeah. He was a shaman, very, very dear friend of ours. His name was Chris. He passed. And within a day, he was already going around to all the students and me, and everybody said, yeah, I'm okay, I'm good. Yeah. I'll be here for you guys.
Yeah.
And so, but he's a shaman. He was teaching this. Right. He understood it.
But I think he's going to do, he's going to be able to do so much more on the other side.
Correct.
Yeah,
through us.
Right. So we're so happy to have him in our life yet, but yes, he's not with us. So it's that same thing, but he's done it. And then there's some other spirits I can't get for 6 months, a year. And they still don't come through right. So we can't guarantee who comes through.
Sure.
But I can guarantee somebody's around everybody.
Sarah says, I am connected to ancestors I have never met. It will be amazing to actually meet them when the time comes. That's a really nice message.
Yeah. That's why I wrote this class that I'm teaching at the end of October. I'm doing a brief thing tomorrow, but it's connecting through your ancestors through genealogy. So going back and finding those family members and, using where they're from, what was going on in the world, that sort of thing to connect with them more. So you get to learn not necessarily who they were, because a name's just a name.
Sure.
But they lived in this town and this was going on here and this was, so it kind of gives you a better understanding of who they were and, how they're still a part of you.
Yeah.
See, that's what I love talking to them is because I can find from them where your gifts come from. Mm-hmm. I can find where certain things are. I can say that, oh, you look like this. By the way, you look like your grandpa on your dad's side.
I'll have to take your word for it. I never met him.
Yeah, just telling you.
Okay.
Find a picture.
Because he's been here all night, too.
That's interesting.
Grandpa's who I saw.
Yeah, you see Grandpa? Yeah.
That's why I mentioned Grandpa earlier.
I know. I knew that's why you said it.
That's interesting.
You didn't catch it. I caught
and
it.
You do, you do look a lot like,
You look a lot like your dad. Go back and look pictures.
Yeah, especially with the beard. With the beard.
That's interesting. I'm going to have to do some serious thinking because...
it might not be a lot out there. I'm just going to tell you, you look just like him. It's a very similar energy.
That's really interesting.
I could help you find it online. I've been doing genealogy for 30 years. I can find you a picture easy.
It's an area of my family that I don't associate with,
right.
And I never have growing up. I didn't even know my father until I was 15.
Right. And sometimes, we have to skip that immediate generation, but still go back and connect to the other ancestors because they're a part of you.
Sure.
And a lot of your behaviors and stuff have trickled down through them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're very similar. So you got to know where they come from.
Exactly.
You got to know where your stubbornness comes from.
I'm in the same boat.
That comes from that side family.
I'd like to just skip that.
Just letting you know.
I think it comes from everybody that I know in my family.
But it's more from that side.
Okay. Yeah.
When you said that earlier, I was like, nah, I know where that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. Matthew also had said that my mammaws have no trouble coming through because they were open in life. So going back to the shaman friend that's passed, it's really interesting. I've always thought that you guys have kind of given me a little bit of confirmation on that. It would make more sense that someone who was into this sort of stuff,
Right.
would take more advantage of it after they're gone.
Right. Yeah.
Especially with the student center.
Yeah. If somebody was extremely religious in a religion that, thought this kind of communication was evil or hell, or, they're not going to want to come through. They're going to be more.
Trust me, they come back and say.
They do come back.
And
but,
I said, I wish I would have
right.
knew this before. My dad was one. My dad's a prime example of that. He comes back into readings for like my students and stuff, and I can hear him, so I know what he's saying. So then if they say the same thing I hear, then I know they're really listening.
Yeah.
But he's come back so many times and he says, I wish I knew, because him and I didn't talk. We fought. 10 years apart, dislocating each other's shoulders, all this jazz, you know what I mean? Bad. It wasn't until right before he died, like 2 years before he died, that we started finally talking again and getting back together with the grandkids. Thanks for knocking. But he always tells them that he wishes he would have known what this was all about when he was alive. And I say the same thing to him. I said, I wish that too, because then we could have had a relationship.
Right.
But now we've both made up. We've both apologized. We both live. And now he's a spirit guide with me because he knows what it is. He knows that the Catholic faith where we were is not it. That's not the premise on the other side.
Right.
And so he understands and he wants to come back. He goes, I know you already know, but he says you could tell others that, you know what I mean? It's that type of thing where they want to come back and try to make it right for people.
I see it a lot in readings where they're there, but they're just still a little shy of coming forward. And it's like, it's okay. If it wasn't okay, you couldn't be here. You couldn't see me. I couldn't see you.
Right. Yeah.
It's okay. And then you have to coax them a little bit and then they'll be like,
and they put it on
Then it's like, well, tell them this. I'm like, okay. Okay. So
yeah, that's really good. It's really good. If you're okay with it, I'd like for you to do some Reiki work or whatever sort of energy work that you could, for me, just to experience it in person here. And that way everybody that's watching can kind of gauge my reaction to it. I won't no-sell you or anything. Like if I'm not going to say, she's making this shit up. No, I'm really curious to it. But a lot of people, for one, a lot of people have never even heard of Reiki or energy manipulation work. And then there are those that just haven't ever done it. Maybe they don't know exactly what they're going to be getting into. And I think it would be a good representation, for those people who are curious about it, but if, they don't know what they're thinking. They're going to go into some opium den or something. And
no, not at all.
That's what we figured the studio was.
Yeah. Well,
before
that's what I thought.
Not on Friday nights.
Yeah.
Okay. That's on Tuesday.
That's on Tuesday.
We came the wrong eye.
All right. I'm going to step aside.
Yeah. So, everybody feels things different. Everybody sees things different.
Sure.
Normally in a real good, focus session, we'll have you like on the massage table or on the chair. And I usually put headphones on so you have music playing, have your eyes covered so the lights aren't blinding you, and you just basically just chill.
Okay.
You may feel heat a lot of times with me. My hands get very hot. A lot of Reiki masters will actually touch. I usually don't, just because I do a lot of work with people that have had traumatic experiences.
Sure.
Not real sure of people touching.
Yeah.
So I usually won't. If there's a spot like a knee or something that's really bad and I feel like I need to, I'll ask them first, hey, I'm going to put my hands on your knees. Is that okay? Sometimes my energy in my hands get too hot. And so having my hands on somebody can kind of just be like, oh, this is too hot. Yeah. Some people feel tingly. Some people don't feel anything at all. Some, when they get their eyes closed and they're kind of listening to the music, will see colors, we'll have visions, we'll see things. If anybody comes spirit-wise to be with the person I'm working on, I will tell them, feel free if you want to put your hand on their shoulder. And then that way, if they feel it, they know that was not me, that was you.
Mm-hmm.
So I may have them do that. Being in this setting where we're not going to be able to get you like,
oh yeah. Well,
way out and under because we're entertaining at the same time.
I spend a lot of time out here. This is one of my comfort zones.
Yeah.
So like I'm already kind of, a notch above.
Right. Yeah.
Anywhere from my head to my back is just awful. So if you can do anything with that, that would be fantastic.
Okay. Sure. Does it hurt right here? Sometimes. Not necessarily right now.
Most of the time, everywhere hurts.
Okay. Because there's something right in here that will pinch.
Yep.
And cause pain down.
Yep.
Sometimes down the right side.
Both, but mostly the right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's kind of leaning towards that way, so it'll kind of go through here, down the arm.
And if I get a strong massage in this area, I get tingles.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
I was going to say, because if you push a lot of pressure right there, I feel like if I pushed hard enough, I can make this entire side go numb.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it would pinch.
No joke.
I wouldn't want to do that.
No.
Like I said, Reiki itself is basically based on hand positions. I don't really use the hand positions the normal way.
That's okay. Everybody does things their own way.
Yeah. So we'll start on the head. Like I said, you might feel warm.
It's okay.
You do have a lot of neck issues.
Oh man, you have no idea.
I know my neck hurts. I usually will feel the pain. I don't know. He said it's right through here. It's just stuck. I don't know if I can open it or not. I'm pulling like negative energy or stagnant energy away.
Yeah, get that
getting
out
rid of it. When I do it, sometimes most of the time you won't, but sometimes people say they can feel the tugging, like where I'm pulling it out. Worry a lot. So it's like you take on a lot of everybody else's problems.
So you had mentioned sometimes people feel a tugging. I feel like there's been a few times where my body has physically moved.
I'm not touching you.
No, like you have touched, and I know the difference. It's like a recoil from a rubber band snap or something.
Yeah, it's like as I'm tugging, your body's trying to move away. Like, wait, what's happening? The negative energy that stores down here in this area, just so you know where I'm at.
Okay.
In this area usually is your foundation, your childhood things, feelings of abandonment, feelings of not fitting in, any of that kind of stuff sits down here.
Okay.
So that's what I'm trying to kind of pull out and release that tension. It stays in your root chakra, which is right at the base of your spine.
I imagine there's quite a lot to pull out.
It's pretty stagnant down there. Yeah. But once that blockage is out, and then this up here, this area is out, and that starts flowing through, you'll feel so much better. I mean, that's going to open up because all your energy that goes to every part of your body comes through that central channel. So if it's not getting through, then it's going to affect everything. It's going to affect your stomach issues, aches, pains, joint stiffness, especially that root can cause a lot of stomach issues. This area here, the top area, would cause anxiety, kind of tension, and the way you carry everybody else's crap right here.
Something really interesting that I've noticed in the past couple of minutes. Normally, whenever I am looking through my eyelids, when my eyes are closed, but I'm not, I'm actually focusing. Normally, I see the color red, like in circles. It's like I'm looking at red eyes across the room.
Okay.
And at some point during this, the red has switched to like a bright blue, kind of a silver blue color.
Blue is what I see. And blue is, everybody feels colors different. For me, blue is love, like unconditional love, self-love, that the blockages are opening up and you're able to start, feeling good.
Yeah.
Then forgetting a lot of the negativity out. Getting rid of it because you don't have to hold on to that crap anymore.
No, it's not intentional.
Like I always tell people, you got to forgive those people, not because what they did deserves to be forgiven. You need to forgive them for being too stupid to realize what they did, for being too ignorant to realize what they missed by shutting you out. Because it was their loss, not yours. So you need to let your part of the loss go. It had nothing to do with you. It wasn't your fault at all. They can deal with their own karma and at their own time, but there's no reason for you to have to deal with it for them. How you feel?
It's going to take me a second to process. There was definitely like a swirling tingle in the middle of my back. I definitely felt nowhere else really did I feel that. And then I felt the physical sensations of like my body moving slightly, like a twitch sort of, but yeah. Thank you.
No problem.
Did you pick up anything that I need to be aware of?
Mostly just the things I said.
Okay.
I didn't go into great detail about the childhood stuff because you know that. You don't need me to tell you that.
We don't need to air all of the
exactly
of the dirty laundry.
When I say childhood stuff, you know what childhood stuff I'm talking about.
Sure.
And you may feel
Drink
like
enough water tonight.
yes, definitely drink a lot of water. You may have dreams. You know, you may have some dreams, but so the most important thing I got from it is you just need to let all that crap go.
Yeah.
Don't hold on to everybody else's stuff.
Yeah. I'm a master of a grudge, too. I still don't eat at the Chinese restaurant in town because of one bad meal. It's been about 3 years.
Bet you nobody there works there from back then.
Probably not, no. Probably
My
not.
husband's the same way. He worked like a week at this restaurant, and this guy absolutely hated him and like mouthed off the entire time, and he will not go into that
I
restaurant.
don't blame him a bit. I don't even want to go there now.
He's like, he's like,
I'll go.
I'm not allowed. He's like, I'm not allowed there, and I'm like, that guy doesn't even work there anymore.
When you are doing a reading, do you set intentions such as only light souls may come through, or are they open to whoever is around them? I.e., suicides may have darkness around them, etc.
I don't usually put a lot of restrictions. I keep a lot of guides with me, and they kind of filter out anything super bad. If I'm purposely at like a paranormal case or something that I need to interact with darkness, then I will even lower that bar a little more and deal with what I need to deal with. But for the most part, I really don't put up restrictions. I don't normally have any issues. Now, I'm not going to say I never have, because I have. For the most part, I don't. I'd say my biggest blocks or times I put restrictions on myself, it's more living people than it is dead.
Living people are the real monsters.
Yeah, there's just certain people that it's like, no, your energy is bad. I can't expose my energy to that energy.
Yeah.
What did she say about suicides?
Just a darkness around suicidal events and.
Well, it depends. See, because suicides aren't judged any differently than any other death.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay. They can go to the other side, and they can cross over and be in what people call heaven.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I was just going to say, I don't think of suicides as having darkness around them.
I don't either.
Okay.
Yes, the person was in pain, but it was a fleeting emotion.
Sure.
You know.
But we all have that choice.
Exactly. We all have, you know.
If we don't want to be here, we don't have to be here. It's our lives. It's not our families. It's not our friends.
It's part of our free will.
It's our free will.
Yeah.
So if we decide, trust me, I've thought about it many times with the amount of pain that I'm in. You saw me roll across your floor.
Yeah.
I've thought about it. And if it gets too bad, I'm going to want to. You know what I mean? Or if your cancer gets that way, or your mental state is not where it should be anymore, and you can never change it back. Why do you want to live that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's leave and start over, try it again, because we all get more chances. So I understand what it does for the people here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
But for the soul themselves, they're accepted with open arms on the other side. Because unfortunately, religions say that they don't cross over, but they do cross over.
Yeah, I think the darkness associated is more with the living.
Correct.
Because there's guilt.
Oh, yeah.
And for me, if I can connect to somebody who has done this, and I can help their family understand that this was not their fault.
Right.
There was nothing they could have done.
Yeah.
Just like if this person had, gotten in a car wreck and a DUI with somebody else, there's nothing you could have done. So many times, it's not something somebody's thought about. It's just a spur of the moment thing. I don't want to be here anymore. Yeah. Done.
People have regretted it. I've talked to spirits that said I shouldn't have done it, but I knew no different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was the only way I could see. I can understand that. I bet everybody that's watching can understand when you get moments in your life where you just don't want this anymore.
Yeah.
And if for most of us, we come around and go, okay.
Right.
But some don't. And some, and I feel so sorry for them. And I don't want them to live that way either, So from a suicidal standpoint, I think it's, like you said, I think it's the people around us that's the most. But the only low energy ever is of a ghost. Not of a spirit. A spirit can never be anything other than love, because they're coming from heaven. They come here, they go here. I guess the best way to explain, I think everybody's seen The Ghost Whisperer, the TV show.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty close to what we do, except for the fact on the show they says once she crosses over that they can never come back, and that's not right. That's the only thing that I never liked about the show.
Right.
They can come back too.
And you can tell them to go, and they just go.
Right.
Because they have free will.
They have free will. You can't. People say, "Oh, I crossed that person over." I said, "No, you didn't."
No, they won't go unless they want to go, and if they go and they want to come back, they can come right back too.
Right.
It's like, oh, you want to cross me over? Okay. Look at me go. I'm going to the light. Yeah. And then they're coming right back. Remember the convention that time with the healers that were there? And the guy walked in with a cane.
Yeah.
And they healed him. And he was like, and he picked up that cane and he walked out. And I'm like, I know that guy. He drives around town all the time. Sometimes he's got a cane, sometimes he's got a walker. I mean, he has nothing. So then it wasn't maybe, an hour later, he come walking back with a walker.
Yeah.
And they're like, let us heal you. And I'm like, didn't you just do that?
Right. But the other thing about it, I do put on there that I want only the highest and best good for the reading,
people.
For the people that I'm doing the reading for.
Yeah.
I don't want negative energies.
Right.
Or I shouldn't call it negative because energy can't be negative, even though we call it negative, positive. But I think that's where people get off. It's just not, their energy doesn't match our energy. So that's why when we feel people and we don't click with them, they're not bad. It's just not of our energies.
Sure.
And that's what makes our soul groups. But that's what makes our soul groups, and we live on from there.
Right.
But the majority of the time, I always ask for the highest and best good. So if you're at home trying to do work with spirit, even if you do Ouija boards or pendulums or whatever you do.
Definitely if you're in your house.
Yeah, do it for the highest and best good.
You want to be
they get some protection for you.
Very picky, very sensitive.
But it's when we do something, if we don't believe in Christianity and we take holy water, the spirits are going to go, ah!
Yeah. It's about the belief of what you're doing.
Exactly. You have to believe in it. Yeah.
It's not the action.
Yeah.
Correct.
Because I was at a case one time where they were like, will you read these verses from the Bible while I do this? And I'm like, no. And they're like, why? And I'm like, because I'm not Christian.
Right.
Yeah.
So me reading that Bible is going to do nothing for you.
Yeah.
I may as well pick up Dr. Seuss and read it because it's going to do the same thing.
Dr. Seuss removes people a lot faster.
Probably.
I'm just saying.
Probably.
I've used Dr. Seuss in exorcisms all the time. You are in the house. No, you're with a monk. You are here and you are there. And you can't be anywhere. I say.
That's what we need. We need some paranormal kids books written like Dr. Seuss.
Actually, Terry's writing somewhere.
That's fantastic.
I mean, I hope that answers your question.
I think so. Yeah. You also sell some metaphysical stuff in your store?
I have random crystals. I'll get different ones. I make protection spray. I make spray to help you sleep. I make self-love kind of things. I also I call them blessing kits, not spell kits, because for me, I don't do anything negative work spell-wise, so they're blessing kits. There's love, there's self-love, and then there's prosperity. And I have ritual candles. I have all kinds of different metaphysical stuff in the shop.
And is all that available online as well?
Yes. My website is embracehealing.net. Or you can find me on Facebook.
I'm selling Ghostbusters cereal tomorrow.
That's fantastic. Original 80s or
the new one?
The new ones.
We've already been through a box of it here. Yes, ScottyRorek.com.
ScottyRorek.com.
And embracehealing.net.
And I'm on Facebook, Scotty Rorek. Just Google Scotty Rorek. I did the other day myself. I was like, maybe I should Google myself once. I did. There was 60 pages of me.
There you go.
Oh, that's kind of cool. I didn't know I had so much crap out there.
Yeah.
As long as you're doing the right thing, it's cool. But, you get that one page where somebody's like, look at this guy did right here.
Yep. And you
Go for it.
Yeah. You can find me on Facebook, too. It's Embrace Healing Matt Toon, I think. That's what it is on Facebook, or just look up Becky Castillo.
I will do my best.
Find the redhead.
I will do my best to put links for everything that we just said into the description for this. So,
yep, awesome. We do a lot of stuff. And if you're interested in Psychics Unite,
yes, please.
You can look it up
all over the place. So if you're watching it wherever you are,
right,
get in touch with us and let you know where the nearest group is. But we also have on Monday nights, we have our all group meeting corporately. So we meet on Monday nights on Zoom. So come join us too.
That's a really cool thing that you guys are doing with that. That's really awesome. It's
nice to reach out, especially to parents with kids who are experiencing it and they don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot more people who have not experienced it or don't know how to handle it than there are people that do and have.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
Yep,
it's good to have that support network there. That's terrific. Absolutely amazing. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming in.
Thank you guys. Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're not watching right now, I know you'll watch it later because that's where most of these views come from. I don't know why we even do these live. What do we even do?
Until next time, keep the fire going.